Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Here we are. Let me... No, YouTube. Let me open the chat. Oh, my channel. Video. Perfect. Okay. Good morning to all of you. Good morning. Hi, everyone. Place the chat in here. Let me know if everything works, if you can hear me. Let me know. Okay. Perfect. So today we have to make something very interesting in 3ds Max. That is, we have to finish what is subject that we have started last week. That is, we have to finish lights, and I have to show you both some small additional parameters about artificial lights, and then we have to study how to simulate natural light. Plus, I have to show you what is exposure in 3ds Max. And today, because we will have time enough, I need also to explain how to use cameras inside 3ds Max. So let me write, as usual, topics that we are going to study. And again, as usual, if you have questions, this is right time to make them. So just to recap, today we have to finish artificial lights, and I have to explain two parameters that were remaining from last week. That are, I have to show you intensity and shape of light. Then we will see sun positioner. That is the tool that allows us to simulate natural sunlight inside 3ds Max. Then we will see what is the exposure control in 3ds Max. And last but not least, we have to see cameras. Okay? So, let's see this question. When modeling a wall floor plan, is it better to have everything in one model, or like dining room, kitchen in one file, bedroom in another? Because, I know, this is an interesting question, because right answer is it depends. What it means? It means that if your project is a project that has closed rooms, so basically it is not made by open spaces, what changes is that if you are rendering, so if you are making a view from a room, you won't see other rooms. So in that case, yes, you can basically make one house. Let's say this is a little bit too thick. You will make your house, no, like that, and you will make it empty. Then you will start saving, so just for reference, and then you will start saving the one that has just a bedroom inside. Then you delete these, you place the living room, and you save it as another file, so that you will have several files, several scenes. But this is why, because when you will render the living room, and if the living room has just a door, basically, you will never see other areas of your project. But the problem comes when you make a project instead that has open spaces. So in that case, nope. In that case, you must make one file for the entire project. In certain aspects, it is easier. In certain aspects, it is more complex, because it is true that when a file has a lot of things, it becomes heavy. So what you should do is you should use blocks with moderation. It is a lot better to make objects by yourself so that you can keep a constant control of how many polygons that are in your scene, rather than just downloading thousands of blocks and putting them inside your project, because this is a very common mistake that a lot of people used to do. Another problem about having multiple files is that sometimes they are not all updated. So what it means is that you make a file, then the file, let's say, for living room, and the file for the kitchen, and then you place then you place, let's say, a different floor, and then you forgot to update the floor on next file. So I mean, there are pros and cons, so check it. Oh, Vanessa, stop spamming my chat. So next week we'll be submitting the project and there is no live. No, I would like to do something more interesting. That is, I would like to give you basically 1 week, I will say 1 week more. What it means? It means that I would like to just waste 2 hours of live lessons without doing anything. So my goal will be this. If you think you have made your best and you want to submit it, feel free to do it. But what I want to do next week will be this. Next week I would like just to explain a couple of things, or I don't know if I will be able to explain them today, but probably not. I would like to instead using 2 hours of next class by opening final submissions that you want to share with me, especially if you have questions on your specific projects. What it means? It means that basically next week I would like simply to go on the Google Drive, open, let's say, 2, 3, 4 stuff like that, and let's say so you comment into the chat, Marco, into the slide number 3, let's say, I have a problem. So I open slide number 3 and I answer on a live stream how to fix that. and then someone else says, Marco, I have a problem in my final project, slide number 4. So I open the project live, slide number 4, and I try to solve this. Okay? So, first of all, is it clear what we are going to do next week? So that basically, if you have small issues also, you have 7 days more to fix them, upload them, and my deadline, it means that really I won't accept any project after, let me see the calendar, after, May the 25th. So May the 25th, Italian time. Don't bother me with I'm here, I'm there. May the 25th, Italian time at 9, I will disable any access to all my Google Drive folders, okay, so that you won't be able to upload any additional final project. So you have you have 1 week more than you should have, okay. So this is no more chances of that day, and you have to make a presentation. No, you have to just submit the project. It means that you have to make a PDF presentation of your project. I don't want any 3ds Max file. No, we are droning. Life is hard for everyone. You're welcome. So, okay. But remember, PDF, PowerPoint. Then there is the OpenOffice format that I don't remember. Should be open, something like that. I cannot. I mean, probably I could, but I'm too lazy and I don't want. I don't want to open like Mac. I don't know how it's called. The keynotes. No. So if you use a Mac for your presentation, be so nice to export your presentation in whatever of these file formats. No Max file. Okay? Last but not least, upload your files on the server, on the Google Drive folder, and then just send me an email if you want me to review it, or if you think like I'm done, and so on and so on. But when you send me files, be so nice not attach the file on the mail, because it becomes trickier for me to open it, because if you use it on the Google Drive, I can even check it with my phone whenever I am, but if you send me on as a mail attachment, it becomes a lot more complex. So just use the drive. Yay! Okay, are these instructions clear before I start explaining 3ds Max? Is everything clear or not? Perfect. Okay. What do you recommend we do for nature, trees and plants? Trees and plants are unbelievably complex. So what I personally suggest is, because you're welcome, first of all, thanks for all of your feedback, and what I suggest for trees, plants and stuff like this is not to use downloaded plants because they are too heavy, and also they are something just to complement your project. They are not the core of your project. So what you could do would be just this. Look, you go to Create tab, you stay on Geometry, you open this menu where you see Standard Primitives, and you go to the menu that is called AEC Extended. Okay? In here you find this tool called Foliage. You open it and you choose from here a very small, I know, selection of green things, like a few flowers, a few trees, a few plants, a few flowers, stuff like that. You click it here, you make one left click in your scene, boom, and you have a tree. Or you want palms, and you have a palm. Or you want pine, boom, and you have a pine. Or this one, garlic, that's okay. And you have, these are 3ds Max plants. So what they have special is that when you use them and you don't select them, they are only displayed like these to save a lot of memory from your computer. But they are also parametric. So when you select them and you go to the Modify tab, for each single plant you can change the aspect to make them different just by changing a couple of numbers. So you can increase the height, the density. Pruning means how young the tree is. You can choose what to include, what not, and especially there is this number called seed. This is a random number that will change the aspect of your palm tree. What it means? It means this. Look, and this is same for all of your plants. There is always same parameters, same things. And what happens is this. Look, I will just quickly show you with palm tree. If I make one palm tree and then I shift and move it and I make copies, take care, copies, you can see something very ugly. That is, I select them all and you can see that they are exactly same exact tree. So they are very fake, they are clearly fake, while you can make copies of them, select one and just click new seed, or manually change it as you prefer, or just click new. And basically by randomly changing the number that is seed, doesn't matter what you write, it has to be just random one, you change a little bit all aspects of your trees. Someone has fruits, someone has not, someone is tilted on one side, someone on the other side, and so on and so on. And you can have quick parametric plants for your project. But the only limit is that the choice of these plants is a little bit limited, but it is a lot better than filling your file with extremely heavy plants with a lot of polygons that will just make your file unbelievably heavy and with no other advantage. Okay? Was it clear? Yes? No? Probably? Let me see. Perfect. So, let's start. Let's finish lights, and exactly like I did last week, to make my lights, I will simply make an empty room, and I will change colors to white, so the beginning will be a super quick repetitions of what we have seen last week. So I won't explain, how to make a few boxes. Okay. Then make another box. Okay, we were here. Marco, I've downloaded Corona demo and my materials have changed. Of course, because materials are managed by rendering options. I don't have same options as before. My material options are limited. Limited. Why? They are changed, not limited. First of all, see this. Your classmate asked about materials, and you can see this. I'm using ART renderer. That is the one that comes with 3ds Max. So what I have is, I have physical materials, I have these materials, and I have my Autodesk material library. That it's obvious because 3ds Max is made by Autodesk. They give me their own library. Your classmate said she has downloaded Corona, and look, I have Corona Render because it is my main render tool that I use. So what I have to do is this. If I go to rendering, render setup, I can see that now render engine that I'm using is written here. It is ART renderer. If you install another render engine like Corona, V-Ray, whatever, you have to click here, and if you want, you have to change it. When you change the render here, you are not only changing how you are going to make your renders, but you are also going to change how the material editor is managed. So your classmate freaked out because because now there is no more the Autodesk material library. Is it true? Is this the problem that you are having or not? Let me see. When you say my material options are limited, use a... Yes, so it's not that my material options are limited, because if you make a Corona material, these are material options, so they are not limited, while they are exactly like physical material. There is diffuse color, there is reflection, there is transparency. Look, diffuse, reflection, refraction means transparency, there is a bump somewhere. So material are exactly the same how they work, but you may think that so your limit is that you have not the Autodesk material library. That is obvious, because Autodesk material library are not compatible with Corona Render. But when you download Corona Render, and first of all, do you have this toolbar, Corona toolbar, or not? Mine is stuck here, your can be whatever. or there is also a menu that appears that is Corona up here. Can you see? So look, you click this symbol here that is called Open Corona Material Library. You click there. Boom! No, stop it. And you have a material library. If you are lazy and you don't want to create materials by yourself, and this is called Corona Material Library, just not Autodesk Material Library. There are several types of glass, there is several types of leather, liquids, metals, nature, and whatsoever. Oh, look at that. That is very nice. There is walls, there is wood. So, no. Don't crash. Because making something that is very, very heavy, that is rendering and live streaming. No, I shouldn't do this. Give me a second. No. Oh, wait. Start it again. Perfect. Phew. It was about to crash. Okay. So, you have materials. They are just placed in another position with another name. Okay? Does it work? You have last... Okay. So, let me set these back to Art Renderer. Because, I mean, Corona is fine, but I can't use it while I'm streaming because it uses the GPU and the streaming uses the GPU. So if I use it and stream, it will crash. Okay, so let's see where we have stopped last week. There is, of course, Corona material is not supported now. So I will make my own neutral material. Yes, I want to make it white. Perfect. Okay. And as we have seen last week, to see light effects in real time in my project, I have to go to Standard, Lighting and Shadows, and I will check Illuminate with Scene Lights, and I will check Shadows. Okay. In this way, let's see if everything is correctly set. So go here and check that these two options are selected exactly like we have made last week. If I'm right, when I place my light, sorry, I was distracted, then I turned my head and I've read the message. Can we please, in the end, go to grass and water? Go to grass and water. It would be nice, but we are locked down, so we can't go to the park and running into the grass and then... it's okay. Let's see. I was joking. If we have time, yes. So, let me show you this. Here we can see that we can now check in real time material effects. So last week we have seen properties of light there were. We have seen shadows. We have seen the distribution and we have seen the color of light. We need to discover last two parameters of lights. There are. Sorry. One is very important, it is intensity. That is the parameter that is listed immediately after color. And intensity basically says how strong light is in your project. Like we have seen last week, even intensity is a parameter that can be read by reading technical specifications of existing lights. What it means? Look. Last week, if I remember, we were into a Philips website and we were reading parameters. So let's change, yes, to whatever. Let's change parameters to English here. Okay. I agree. And how annoying is this website? Consumer products here. Okay, we were into lamps. And we have selected just one random light. I don't remember which one. Let's open whatever. So, when we open a page about a lamp and we go to specifications, and if you want, look, I will paste the link to this page into the chat so that we can, if you want to open it, you can check it in your screen as well. So, last week we've finished reading these informations by focusing our attention to this parameter here, that is the color temperature in Kelvin degrees. Parameter that I want to show you now instead is this one. There is a parameter that simply says how bright the lamp is. And what you can see is that this is a number that has a unit. And this unit is LM. Okay? LM as a photometric units, LM means lumens. But there is an interesting thing, that is different makers, or for different brands, let's say, someone uses other units. And into the lightning design, basically, you can find intensity of light written in 3 different units. One is lumens, another one is called CD, and this means candles. Another unit that is a little bit more complex to manage is called LX at a certain distance, that in general is 100 centimeters. This is lux. So those 3 symbols, LM, CD, or LX at, they are just 3 different units to specify same property of light, that is how bright it is. In 3ds Max, for this reason, because you can find technical informations with 3 different units, you will see that you can choose between the unit that you want to used to describe the intensity of your light. And no matter which unit you use, intensity is simply a number that works in a very basic way. That is, the higher, the bigger this number is, the more bright light becomes. The lower this number is, the more dark, so the less bright the light becomes. And if we want, we can be very precise, and if we want to simulate the exact behavior of this Philips lamp that I have selected, we can combine and we can use both parameters that we are reading from here. So we can use 2800K for colors, but we will use 850 for lumens in intensity. And look, this is the color. This very yellow. For this reason, that lamp is defined as warm white. But then because I have lumens as informations, I click LM and I change my value to the one that is written in that website, that is 850. And believe it or not, this is exactly how bright, and in this case, how not that bright, this exact Philips lamp works. And it is 2800K for colors, 850 lumens. And this is the intensity. This is how much light this lamp creates in real life. Okay? For example, this is a very weak lamp, and you will see that this is used, for example, for table lamp. So when this will be very close to the surface that you want to illuminate. Or for example, this kind of weak lamp can be used in a chandelier, so where you have multiple lights. And in 3ds Max, we can do this by making shift and move. And instance, and then I will make shift and rotate 30. Let's make 5. Ooh, look at that. Now give 3 seconds to load. Look, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 of these lights. So you can see that by using 12 of them instead, my room has a nice all around working light. Okay? I just place these lights up here. Phew. And this is the result of having 8 of those lamps. So you can see this kind of blurred shadows and so on and so on. Okay? Okay, so first of all, before I go on, and then I will read this question. Is intensity clear? Because, I mean, it's just a number. And then, while I wait your answers, let's see this question that says, Vanessa says, I'm having a small problem. I added a hallway of spotlights. However, the first 2 only shows when rendered, and the rest are all black. Even they are instants. So first of all, when you say they are rendered, wait a second. Oops. Okay, let's delete this. So your classmate basically says she has a lot of spotlights. So basically what she has changed is she has changed the parameter that is called the distribution into spotlight. And she has something like this. Like a lot of spotlights here. Let's say a lot of spotlights there. And you can already see one problem. That is, can you see these two spotlights are not making light? This and this. So the question that I have is this the problem, or it is when you click render that they are not appearing? Because you will notice something a little bit weird. That is, in my project there are 3 spotlights that are creating light. 2, they look like they are black, but in reality this is only a graphic card issue that happens when you try to have too many elements in real time. So simply, and especially because right now I am streaming, so I'm using the graphic card, at a certain point the graphic card stops showing me lights in real time. But when I render, they work for sure. So let me know if the problem is inside the rendered image or into the viewport. Yes, it is like this in the scene, and when I click render spotlights, look, they are lit. Look, whoa, yes, it is like this in the scene, and when I click render spotlights, look, they are lit, look okay, and the rest look very dimmed. And so first of all, be sure that in the rendered image they work first. Second, we will fix this in a second by also discovering exposure, probably. Okay, but if this is the problem, this is nothing. It is just a graphic card issue, and it can be solved. Because we should need another graphic card. But sometimes we need, and this is for all of you, sometimes we need to see this. Look. And this is extremely important. Let's say I make my spotlight. Okay. I make my spotlight here, and you need to see something that may happen. Look. Okay. Let's see. I can see light into the scene. Let's see if I render. Let's see if I can make mistakes. I'm too good in making mistakes. Look, this is, believe it or not, a lot more common as a mistake that you may imagine. So, see this. I don't know if you can understand which is the problem now, but the problem is this. In my scene, I see the spotlight. I also see light projected here. So it looks like everything should be perfect. Then I render, and the render is black. It is pure black. Can you imagine which is the problem or not? Let me make this test. Let me see if some of you has any clue of what could be the problem here. No, no, this is even more, how can I say? This is even basic. This is like, when I will show you the problem of this, you won't believe your eyes, really. Sorry also for the background noise, but something fell down. Nope, it's not exposure at all. It is something that is super basic. No other options. So sorry, you have just lost the chance to have A+. So look here. If I, and believe it or not, it is so precise, but if I use another viewport and I zoom in, you will notice something phenomenal, that is, even if it is matter of a millimeter, I will say, but I have placed my lamp, look, this is the lamp, and if I zoom in, I can see that in reality my lamp, look, it is, even if it is a fraction of, I don't know, want to see how small this is? This is, look, my light is 0.03, so a fraction of a millimeter, it is inside the ceiling. So this approximation into the viewport shows me that light is making light. But because in reality this object is inside the box that is my ceiling, when I render, so when 3ds Max calculate all exact things that I have made, these in reality won't make any light, because the light starts from the inside of the ceiling, so it won't go through it. What I have to do is, even if it looks wrong, but instead my light, if it is a ceiling light, let's say should be here, like a fraction of a millimeter underneath the ceiling rather than inside the ceiling. And if I just do this and look, I zoom out and I render, now the light works. Okay, so it was locked by a geometry. This is the problem. Perfect spotlights should be only used next to wall. No, spotlight. I mean, lights must be used where they are in reality. So you can place it into the center and you will get this kind of illumination. There is no rule to use spotlights. Spotlights next to wall are, if you want to see these, there is called like flame of light. But if you have a teapot, let's say here, and instead you want to use an interesting light to illuminate the teapot, you will move it and you will rotate spotlight whatever you want. Perfect. A little bit like that. I will also make it narrower. Fantastic. So that you have this kind of mysterious effect of having just your teapot illuminated, and then you can add, let's say, another light, and I will make it a very blue, but with a lot less intensity. That will give me a bit of ambient light. So when I will make my render, I will have my main object illuminated by a warm spotlight. Okay, and the rest with that uniform light. Okay? Okay, yes, it works. Spotlight should be next to walls. No, I have a small hot spot. But those lights, okay, then it must be what you said, because when I move it, it worked. I know! Believe it or not, placing lights inside objects, it is one of the most common mistake and one of the most common reason why sometimes they look like they are not working. So let me finish with last parameter of artificial light. That is this. Look. See this. Let's say I have my beautiful, this is a uniform spherical light, and I have just one small problem to fix. That is, I can see that shadows projected by this light are very black, and edges of these shadows are extremely sharp. But honestly, this is not what happens in reality. In reality, shadows are depending from how big the light is. And believe it or not, in reality, the bigger the light is, the more soft shadows are. So, I don't know if you ever seen, for example, like photography lights, like this. Look. Softbox. For example, not shopping, it's images. Exactly. These kind of lights are lights that are very big, and they have the effect of diffusing light. And even if you haven't seen stuff like that, you can also see, but I will keep this page, it is called IKEA I don't remember the name, should be called IKEA, this one, images, like these. Exactly. Have you ever seen like this kind of paper diffusers that are hanged with lights? Have you ever seen them or not? Like these. Sometimes they're also called like Chinese lanterns. But basically what they are is that they are spherical, big diffusers. And what they do is that they increase lanterns. So what they do is that they filter light by increasing the size of your light sources. And what they also do is that they give a shape to your light. So for example, these are spherical lights. If you see this one, let's say, this instead is like a flat disc of light, or this is like a flat rectangle of light. And in 3ds Max, to make your light even more realistic, as last parameter, you can scroll down after intensity and you can find this parameter here that is called emit light from shape. So it is this parameter here. Okay? And in here you can choose between certain options, but I like to explain this parameter because even if you have several options called point, line, rectangle, disc, sphere, cylinder, you need to know that not all of them are giving you pleasant results, and also not them all can be used in a free way, as you may expect, because first of all, you should avoid point and you should avoid line. You should use only these 4 remaining available shapes: rectangle, disc, sphere or cylinder, but by paying also attention to the combination of light shape and light distribution, because 3ds Max uses a very logic algorithm, and basically what it allows you to do will be this. If you use uniform spherical distribution, it allows you to use as shape only, and I mean to have a correct simulation, only cylinder or sphere of light. So if this is the distribution, those can be available shapes, and we can check it because, let me just hide, but if I change from sphere, let's say from point to sphere, now I can also change the radius and see this magic result. Look, the bigger the light becomes, look how soft and natural shadows will be. And with uniform spherical distribution, you can correctly use sphere or cylinder if you want to simulate a tube lamp. And if you give a second, you will see your shadows becoming a lot more natural, a lot more realistic. Okay? Till here, let me finish this, and then I will answer your classmate, because someone says, Marco, I've tried everything you said, but it is still not showing up in the render. First of all, I would like to know what is still not showing up in the render. Then let me finish shape of light. So, as I was saying before, 3ds Max allows you to give a realistic shape, but with uniform spherical distribution, you can use only cylinder or sphere of light. When you use instead a directional light source, so when you use spotlight, or when you use uniform diffuse, that is wide but still directional, in that case you can use disc or rectangle of light. And for example, a disc of light is basically this. Look, this is a disc of light, this is a rectangle of light, but even a small disc. So when you have spotlights on the ceiling, and you see these, look at this picture here, for example, or this one. Basically, spotlights that are into the ceiling are nothing else than smaller disc of light, but not point, because in this way you will simulate a more realistic effect of light. But for example, believe it or not, if you want to make an LED strip, you know, stuff like these, basically. An LED strip, when it is attached to the surface that you want to use, this is basically nothing else than a very thin but long rectangle of light. So if you think like you can use an LED strip, let's say when you have your false ceiling, in order to make it, nothing easier than making this. Look, I make my light. An LED is a directional light, but very diffuse, so I change the distribution from uniform spherical to uniform diffuse, so that it is projected only in one side. But I will start changing the shape of my light. Instead of making point, I will make it as a rectangle. And if I want to simulate an LED strip, my rectangle must be as long as I want. Let's say more or less how long as the entire wall, but I will make it very thin, like this. And you can see that even the where light is projected changes according to the shape that you are using. Also, LED can't be as bright as that. Let's say make it just an ambient effect light like this. I will put these close to the ceiling, so here, let's say closer to this other wall, I give a second to 3ds Max, let's see, and this will be my LED strip attached on this side of the wall. If I color it, it will be even more visible as an effect. But this is the effect of having, let's say, a 400 lumens LED strip attached to the ceiling. I can then shift and move it here. Instance. Perfect. Let's wait. 3ds Max. And I have my phenomenal LED strips attached to the ceiling. Okay? So, let's see here. I've tried everything you said. It's still not showing up in the render. The spotlight. And what can I tell you? Send me the file, because for sure you are skipping some steps, so for sure you are making something wrong. If not, they should appear. I mean, you know what? Send me the file right now, immediately, and I will open in real time so that everyone will understand a common problem that maybe they also have. Okay? Send it now, immediately, in real time. Can you do it? Yes. But in the meantime, I want to show you something completely different, because by knowing now all these parameters, shadows, distribution, color, intensity, and shape, we know everything. Yes, I got it. Send me the file, as I said. So, let's see last thing about lights. That is, how to use natural light. In order to use natural light, we need to use a light that is called sun positioner. And sun positioner must be placed wherever you want in your file. It doesn't really matter the actual position. And you place it by doing something very simple, in general just outside your project, so that you can easily select it. You have to select sun positioner. You have to left click and drag. And when you release your mouse, you need to set where from you is north direction into your project. And then you make your first left click. You have simply to move your mouse up and down just to change the size of your light. And basically that's it. And it also doesn't matter how big sun positioner is, because it is a parametric symbol. So it has to be just in your file, and it doesn't matter where, or it doesn't matter how big or small it is. But see, from now, 3ds Max will start using it as a light source. Before you say everything is become white, I want to show you another thing. That is, when you set a sun positioner, look, if you click move, it doesn't matter where you click, but you can't change with move the angle, intensity, color of your sunlight. You can't, simply because sunlight follows physically correct behavior of light. So if you go to the select your sun positioner and you go to the modify tab, believe it or not, the only parameter that you may want to change in your sun positioner, believe it or not, is the time. Because according to, look, the hour of the day, minutes if you want to be more precise, or even the day of the year. So if you want to simulate light in a certain day, in a certain month, in a certain year, okay? And if you want to be extremely precise, you can also change the location so that you can see light behavior in according to the position of your project into the planet. Okay, then I will explain this and then I will open the file that your classmate sent. But look, now this is how you can manage sunlight. And you can also see that my rendering is becoming super bright, even into the viewport, even more brighter. If I render, everything is too bright. And why? Now that we know that we can have these two different light sources, artificial and sunlight, we need also to introduce the concept of exposure. Because when you have, let's say, when you are inside, no, and you stay for a long time inside a room, and then you suddenly open the window, what your eyes used to do is that you will close your eyes, and you will also close the iris in your eyes, because light is a lot more, so you need to balance the intensity of light by changing the exposure in your eyes. And it happens also the opposite. When you stay outside for a long time and then you go inside, you will see that for a certain amount of seconds, the inside of your house will look super dark. But then iris of your eyes open, and then you see your room correctly illuminated. That is exposure made with your eyes. You can also find same parameter into photography, and you can find same parameter into 3ds Max. So if you change your light source, you need also to balance the exposure of your view by going to rendering, exposure control, and exposure control is what is written here. It is global. You have to change this. Sorry. You have to change this number here. There is a number that has a unit called EV. EV as a unit means exposure value. This number is very simple. That is, if you increase this number, your rendering, your viewport will, it's not that visible. But basically, if you increase it, your view will become darker. If you decrease this number, your view will become brighter. So now we can clearly see that our exposure is too low because everything is too bright. So I simply increase this number. Okay. I will click render preview so that I can check if everything is fine. Okay. And now, even if into the viewport, again, only because I'm streaming, 3ds Max is suffering a little bit in showing me this in real time. But if I render, I will see my rendering correctly illuminated. With a small, clearly visible problem, that is, the outside of my rendering looks great. Okay? While the inside of my room is still looking very dark. Okay? So for you, why my room is still looking dark, even if I have this beautiful bright sun outside? And in the meantime, I will open the file that your classmate sent. So in the meantime, I was saying why my rendering is black. What is missing here for you? Any idea? Windows. Exactly. Exactly. Windows is always the solution, even if you have a Mac. So, this is a sad, nerdy joke. Anyway, look, if I make Boolean, and I basically open a window, basically I will give light the possibility to enter inside my room. So now, if I render, fantastic! Look at that. How beautiful this thing is becoming now. So, your classmate says, what is the usual value we put for exposure? There is not. There is not. It depends. The exposure value must be always adjusted according to multiple factors. And these multiple factors are: factor number 1, which light or lights there are into the scene. If you have natural light, only natural light and artificial light, and if you have natural light at what hour of the day, because Look. Now my light is set at 8 a.m. okay, and at this hour of the day my exposure was fine. I mean, if inside I would say even a little bit too dark, I should go to exposure control, lower it, let's say 13. This would be a little bit maybe too bright, but then it happens this. If I change the hour of the day, let's say I go to 6 a.m. and I render, what happens is that because at this hour of the day light is less bright, then I have to balance the exposure. If I go at 7 p.m. okay, it happens the same. My light is darker, or even 20. So now I have sunlight, I have another hour of the day, but I have to balance the fact that light is changing intensity and direction and color by changing the exposure control. By changing exposure control. So there is not a right parameter. It has to be adjusted by clicking render preview. And second parameter that tells you that there is not a right or wrong value to use is your personal taste. So the mood that you want to give to your final rendering. For example, if I want to give this a very dark mood, I will put, let's say, a free light inside. I will use spherical light. I will change the color. Maybe I will make it warm. So like a very, cozy atmosphere, nighttime with yellow lights. So I go to rendering, exposure control, render preview. Perfect. For me, this is not the effect that I want to obtain. I want something darker, something more cozy. So I will simply increase exposure value because I want to obtain this more kind of darker final image. Okay, so a lot depends on how much lights you have, which lights you have, but also it depends on your personal taste. Okay? If you just want a small but extremely unprecise chart, in general, 6 EV is the default when you use only artificial light. Only 14 to 15 is when you use sun for exterior only. 10 to 13 is when instead you make interior renders. Let's say for interiors. Sometimes if you make interiors with sun, but if you make interiors with sun and artificial light, this can be to 8. But more or less it works like that. Okay? Is it clear? Yes? No? Probably? Maybe? Let me know. Okay, so let's explore last thing for today. That is camera, but with a twist. That is, let's use as example, let's use the file that your classmate sent. That is where? Have I downloaded? So sorry, I'm just opening my mail, going here. Of course you can see because I have two screens. Download it, save. No, I haven't downloaded. Okay, ready for this? Let's check in real time. Open the file. Okay, so this is your classmate file, and first of all we discover that your classmate is using V-Ray, and I have not V-Ray because I don't like it. Second of all, so this is the light, photometric light, and this light works. Okay, let's go to rendering, render setup, art renderer. So what's wrong? Mine works perfectly. I know this is ugly when this happens. So where is the problem here? I put a spotlight. I change this to spotlight. Ray traced shadows. Spotlight. The render is not working. Let's say I click render. Ooh, render is black. You're right. So let's check it. I go to rendering, render setup, production render, art render. Here everything is fine. I go to rendering, exposure control, physical, okay. Render preview. No. No way. No exposure control. Let's give it a look. Wow. This is great. Let's go to materials. So, you are using a material that is not supported. Can you see that the preview of your material is nothing? So it is not that the rendering is not working. Rendering is working, but if you use a material that shows a material preview and you apply a material, so It doesn't matter how many lights you use them, but if the material is not showing into the material editor, the material won't show up into the rendering itself. I apply another material and I can see the preview in my material editor, so this material will work, and if I'm right, as I usually am, everything will work. Unbelievable, isn't it? How simple can be solutions to problems sometimes. Okay? Was it clear? Let me see. Perfect. So, last thing for today. Let's say we have this project. And in this project, there is another room. So, I will add another room in here. Perfect. Why don't you like V-Ray? This is a very personal question. I mean, the view is not distorted. The project is like this. Also, let me check. Also, the problem is that your classmate is not using even realistic dimension. Look, this house is for midgets. It is 160 centimeters large. So, in reality, this house should be like this. Because these walls are also 8 millimeters thick, 110 centimeters tall. Oh my god, this is a disaster. Should be 3 meters. Is 3 meters as well. 3 meters here. I mean, very disappointed. Extremely disappointed. In the meantime that I fix these, I need to explain something more. That is, thing number one, I don't like V-Ray for two main reasons. Well, for multiple reasons while I'm fixing this. And thing number one, I don't like it because, and this I know is very childish, I don't like it because everyone keeps saying V-Ray, V-Ray, V-Ray here, V-Ray there. And this is first thing that is. It is too mainstream as product. And this is first. And I know this is not professional at all as a reason, but this is first reason. Second reason is that, and let's go technical, for me, V-Ray is simply too slow, and it has, not because I don't know how to manage, but it has too many parameters that make the software overcomplicated with no real use, because everyone will look at a YouTube tutorial and everyone will always set V-Ray in one way only, with a certain global illumination, with a certain this, certain that, and they all use one parameter. So why adding 7,000 parameters if they must be set in one way only. That is just unuseful. And I don't like it because, I use 3ds Max for fun and for work. But if I need to use it just for work, I want to use something that is fast, reliable, and easy to be used. And I don't want to spend hours of my work wasting time in finding parameters, solutions, and stuff like that. Because as designer, I need to be focused on the design. I don't have to spend hours in setting one parameter for reflections because they are not working as they should be. So I don't like it for this reason mainly. It is extremely slow. It is overcomplicated. It is mainstream and I don't like it. Something else? It is expensive. It is expensive. And if you find V-Ray in other ways, believe it or not, you will get a lot of viruses in your computer because V-Ray that is not originally bought from the website is spreaded online by the same company that makes V-Ray, and they put on purpose malwares and viruses inside those versions of V-Ray just to let you learn V-Ray. Then you will see that you have a virus, but now you know how to use V-Ray, so before or after they will force you buying it. So I don't really like anything about V-Ray. I don't know if this was enough to share the deep hate that I have for V-Ray. Anyway, you're welcome. And the last thing for today is this. I have these rooms right now, but I can't go anymore easily with my mouse. I can't go in all these places of my project. So first of all, I have to use cameras. And cameras are very simple because you have to use target or free camera. For sure you have not Corona Cam. Forget about physical cam because the physical cam has an additional exposure control, but you just use those. And the difference between free and target camera is only the way you move them. A free camera is a camera that you can move or rotate freely. A target camera is a camera that you can move by dragging the camera or dragging the target. This is the only difference in between these two cameras. So what to do when you place cameras in your project? Well, this is very basic. If you add as many cameras that you want, what you have to do is simply, in order to see exactly what the camera is viewing, you click where you read perspective, you left click here, you go to the first option that is called cameras, and you choose which camera you want to see. So let's say I want to see camera number 2, that is my camera that is target. This is right now what my camera number 2, that is this one, is viewing. So I can, look, move it into the floor plan. I can move it up. But this is a target camera, so I can also move the target. And same thing, just instead of moving the camera and the target, but only with move and rotate, can be done with a free camera. So if I select instead that I want to see what my camera 1 is viewing, this is what my camera 1 is viewing. I can move it into the floor plan, I can move it into my elevation, I can rotate it if I want, and the only additional parameter that you need to know when you use cameras is that you can change the field of view of your cameras in order to make them wider or narrower. So, if you want to have a wider field of view, you just select your camera, you go to the Modify tab, and believe it or not, you can forget all camera parameters except for lens. Lens is a parameter that, like in real photography, works. The lower this number is, the wider my field of view becomes. The higher lens length becomes, the narrower my camera field of view becomes. So, because this is a very small project, if I want to have a bigger, larger preview, I simply select my camera and I decrease lens to have a wider perspective. I shouldn't go very wide. In general, I shouldn't go wider than 15 millimeters, because if not, the image becomes too distorted. But now that I have cameras, I can really go and explore my project with a lot more flexibility. So I can place cameras in more precise ways, in more precise positions. I can control all angles of my project. So even for target cameras, I can make like 15 millimeters, and I change to camera 2. And I will see that the only difference is that if I want to use quickly a camera to simulate that I'm walking inside the project, I will use free camera. If instead, let's say I have, again, my teapot here, and the teapot is my subject of my rendering, look, I will place the target of my camera where the teapot is, and then by moving the camera here and there, because if I move the camera, I'm not moving the target as well, my teapot will always remain main subject of my camera. Okay? While if I just want to take pictures, I will simply set where my free camera is. So I like one here, then I place another one. Maybe I will place another camera here. This is called camera 3. So I change cameras to camera 3. And I have all these views saved, and each time that I want, I just select the camera, and when I want to make my renders, I select the camera that I want to render first, and then I will click render. And last but not least, only when you want to make your final renders and I will try to show it in live stream, but I don't know if it will be possible. But at least you need to see this. Can you see that when I click render, my image is very noisy, and the resolution is not that big, it is pixelated, and so on and so on. I do this because in real time I want to quickly render images during the class. But only when you will finish your projects and you need to make final images for your final presentation, so do it just when everything is ready. You have to go to rendering, render setup, go to the area that is called common, and where you see here output that says how many pixels you are creating. These two, oops, this is too wide. These two numbers are telling you the resolution in pixels. These two numbers should be at least 1600 pixels for width, 1200 pixels for height. Okay, so I will change them 1600, 1200. This is first thing. Second thing is you go to art render and you simply change these two parameters. You change render quality from draft to high, and you enable noise filtering till 75%. Okay? So these three adjustments: resolution, quality, and noise filtering. What changes is, I won't do this because it would be unuseful live streaming. When you click render now, you will see two things that are the quality will be great. Your images will be sharp, there won't be noise. It will be perfect. So the quality will be thumbs up. What changes is that the time will be a nightmare, because the more quality, the more time is needed to render. So maybe you click render with these parameters, and believe it or not, your computer can say that there will be 2 hours for making a to make a rendering. Okay? Don't freak out, because there is nothing that you can do. If you want quality, you need time. If you want less time, you will have only 2 options. And with this, I will finish this class. There are less time is a problem that can be solved in 2 ways only. Way number 1, less time means less quality, or less time means a faster PC, so a newer, stronger, beautiful laptop. Okay? So these are all things that you need to know for your final. So we've seen cameras, we've seen sunlight, we've seen exposure, we've seen a lot of things. Technically, you are ready to make your final presentations. So do them and develop them, imagining that Monday you have your deadline. So on Monday, I would like to open a few of yours And you will ask me in these 2 hours of the class which problems you have and which problems you want to solve them, so that you have another week to complete it. But last week, so Monday the 25th, then there won't be any second chance, any additional Q&A email, so you have time to ask me things about your project till May the 18th. All from May 18th to May the 25th, I will just leave the folder open to accept your uploads, but I won't answer additional emails, additional questions, additional problems. Okay? Yes? See? Everything is clear? So that I close this live and I start my next one. During this week, yes, after May 18th, that technically should be your deadline. From May the 18th till May the 25th, I will just leave the folder open for your uploads. So during this week, yes, send me emails. After May the 18th, no. Okay. So, good, the same question. Will you punch animations? Animations, no. No. Yes, 10. No, animations, no. It takes forever. And, no, nope. Water. Yes, mail me. But if you want to know water, there are 2 ways. Or you go to, if you're using Art Renderer, just make Autodesk Water. And then choose the water that you need. Swimming pool, reflecting steam, river, ocean. That's faster. If you're not using Art Renderer, just make a transparent material and add reflections and bump. So try it first and see if it works. If not, mail me. Okay? Perfect. I gotta go because I have to close this and then I will have another live stream. So for now, it has been phenomenal, so have fun, not too much during this week, and try to complete as much as you can your final. Bye!